So my housekeeper, Trish, former housekeeper, just left 2 hours early and did not tell me she was only going to work 2 hours. Showed up next to my chair and said, "I'm done. Are you cash apping me the money?" And before I could even get up out of my chair to look around and inspect, she was out the door and fucking gone. So here's how things look. She claims she dusted. You can clearly see this is my computer desk. She did not dust the computer desk. You can see a swipe left a lot of a trail. This is in the living room. Clearly not dusted. You can see the trail my fingers just left on that. Also in the living room. Clearly not dusted. Also, it's obvious when she did the shelves, she just dusted in front of the books. She didn't move anything, so you can still see that there's hair and dust around the edges of the books. Nothing got moved. If you look at the tops of the books, they're covered in dust. I mean, they're caked in dust. Now, I have an autoimmune disease, so is my house dirty? Yes, my house is dirty, but that's why I hired a housekeeper. And this is the job that my housekeeper did. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Okay? She just left. She hasn't even been gone 30 minutes. Look up here. You can see she dusted here, and you can see the line where she just didn't move anything, just dusted around. So you've got this huge line. None of that got dusted. Look at how filthy that is. None of that got dusted. Over here, she didn't do the top of the PlayStation. Once again, look at that line. She just left. She left 2 hours early and expects to get paid the full amount and is pissed that she didn't get a tip. Now, we did pay her the full amount, but she just showed up at my house to yell at me and tell me that I need to keep my house clean and that she's going to go on next door and tell everybody not to clean my house because I'm unprofessional because I didn't give her a tip. But how's that for unprofessional? She just allegedly dusted that. Allegedly. Look at that line and tell me that that is dusted. Look at that. Is that dusted? Does that look like it's been dusted less than 30 minutes ago to you? Because I don't think it does. All right. Now, we're going to look at some other stuff. Last time she was here, I noted and told her that she didn't do the fireplace mantle, and so she said she would do it this time. Just now, when she was out in my front yard yelling at me and being unprofessional, she told me she did it and that I was sitting right here when she did it. Well, if she did it, that's a pretty piss poor job. Look, there's a ball of dust bunnies. A ball of dust bunnies just sitting there. Look at what's going on in between the speakers. Look at what's going on this picture frame. You can see where she used her hands to touch the frame, but the frame itself did not get dusted. There is balls of hair on everything. This is the computer desk in the living room, not dusted. She told me she did the dining room table and that I was supposedly sitting right here when she did it. Does that look dusted? I noticed right after she left when I was doing my walkthrough that there were like marks like that where you could see clean areas and dusty areas, but it hasn't actually been dusted. You wouldn't get that much dust on my finger. And by the way, every time I do this, I'm wiping my finger off and starting clean, so I'm not just showing you the same dust every time. Down here on the benches, she claims she did these benches. Does that look like it was just dusted less than 30 minutes ago? All right, this is just the living room and dining room. We come into the kitchen where she put away the clean dishes that my husband had already washed. And she washed that. I think there was 2 pans and a cutting board on that counter that were dirty. She washed those. Did she do a good job on those? Absolutely. Not going to say she didn't. However, does that look like it's been dusted? No, it's covered in a layer of dust on it. We're gonna look over here. This looks pretty good, but there's fingerprints all over that. Never got wiped down. Fridge, never got wiped down. So then we go, and I apologize, you guys, I have an autoimmune disease. I have a hard time getting around, which is why I need a housekeeper. Here we go. Last time she was here, I mentioned that this didn't get done this time. She said she'd do it. Not done. Now, I don't expect her to dust my purse, but you can see that the area around my purse is every bit as dusty. Not only did none of this get dusted, nothing got moved. Everything is dusty. Everything is dusty. I come in here. She said she was going to fold the clean laundry that's on the bed. She didn't. She took the clean laundry out of the dryer and threw it on the bed. Nothing got folded. So the ad that I posted, here we go, picture frames. Apparently, she doesn't do picture frames, because look at that picture frame. Does that look dusted? Look at that. Does that look like 30 minutes worth of dust? Because her claim, when I told her that nothing got dusted, was that it all got dusted and that it just was redusty again by the time I got up to check it. That's what she said. Does that look like it can happen in 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, in a room that's had the door closed since she left? That is just from a little tiny piece. Okay, now I acknowledged last time she was here that the house needed a lot of work. And so when she stayed for the full 4 hours and then stayed an extra half hour, we actually paid her an extra $40. An extra $40. 40. And ignored the fact that a lot of stuff never even got done because we knew it was a lot of work and that it would probably take multiple visits for her to get caught up and into a maintaining stage. But this time, she left 2 hours early. Early. She came at 10 o'clock on the nose, punctual. Give her that. She's super punctual. But she left at noon. Look at that. Look, I'll clean my finger off. See? Clean finger. Wait, oh, let me wipe it again. All right, clean finger. No dust. We'll go over here. Look, you can actually see the ball of hair falling off and the dust on my finger. She didn't do it. She just sat outside in front of my neighbors, yelling and shouting and claiming she did it all. None of it got done. Here's the bathtub, which is bone dry in the bottom. She didn't do the bathtub at all. Bone dry. Everything is exactly, and I mean exactly, where I left it. Nothing has been done. Look at that. That didn't get wiped down. That's not been turned on. That is bone dry. There is no water. There's still hair in the bottom of the drain. So clearly didn't get cleaned. She took out the trash. Yeah. She also left the bag of trash sitting by the front door in the living room, or in the entryway. And I had to take it out so that the dogs wouldn't get into it. Last time she was here, she did that, and I took it out, or I didn't notice, and the dogs got into it, and my husband shaves his head, y'all. The dogs got into it, and we're throwing head shavings all over the carpet. Look at that. That's our vacuum. The vacuum is dusty. It's a robot vacuum. It's dusty. Didn't get cleaned. Nothing got done. The only things that actually look cleaner than they were when she got here are the toilets and the kitchen counters where the clean dishes were that she put away and the few dirty dishes were that she washed. Everything else, pretty much exactly the same. Obviously, that's the dog toys and stuff. I picked them up off the floor and moved them for her so she wouldn't have to. But, so she could vacuum. But I missed that, so she obviously didn't move the beanbag to vacuum. She just vacuumed around it. You can see she didn't really do much of a job because you can actually see the wheel tracks where she vacuumed, and then you can see all these empty spots where she didn't. She said she mopped the floor, and when I told her that there was still dog food and paw prints on the floor, she said, well, yeah, from your dogs coming back in the house. And I said, well, no, because I checked them before I let the dogs back in the house. I don't know if you can see that, but there's actually, you can't see it on this. There's actually, oh, you kind of can. Paw prints and footprints. See that? That paw print right there? And I can see a couple of my own footprints in the floor where if it was mopped, the mixture was too rich or not rich enough, because it looks like something just got smeared around on the floor rather than actually cleaned. And our feet and paws are leaving marks. This clearly didn't get vacuumed. This rug by the back door didn't get vacuumed. This mop bucket has not moved since I put it there. This has not been used. As you can plainly see, the mop is totally dry and never got used. So she did not mop the floor, even though she tried to tell me that she did. This didn't get done. That did not get done. Look at that. She claims she did this mantle. That's not clean. She didn't do that. That has not been dusted. This one has not been dusted. Well, it's wet. It's hard to show up. Let's do this one. Metal. Not been dusted. Look at that. Again, this was all supposedly done less than 30 minutes ago. Look up there. Does that look like it was dusted? Look at that line. Do you see that line? So she did part of the mantle, but clearly she didn't do the whole thing. You can clearly see that it wasn't done between the speakers. You can clearly see that she moved the egg cartons to do the mantle there, but didn't do there behind that water fountain. Didn't do over there behind the candles. So yeah, so when she left, after I'd had a chance to actually look everything over, let me turn this around. After I'd had a chance to actually look everything over, I told my husband what was and wasn't done, and what wasn't done well, and about how even though she did dust this curio cabinet, and I watched her do it, she left piles of dust on the curio cabinet. Look at that. And clearly she didn't do a good job, because you can see the line where she didn't dust around the air purifier and left piles of dust that she didn't bother to pick anything up and move it to dust around it. She just kind of used the Swiffer duster, flicked it in around the stuff that's on here, and called it good, and just left messes, horrible messes everywhere. Anyway, so I told my husband what wasn't done, and consulted with my sister, who used to do this professionally, but lives too far away to do it for me. And she said I'd give her half of what she's owed because she spent half as much time there as she was supposed to. No tip. And tell her not to come back. Well, my husband sent her all of what she was owed, but no tip. I shouldn't say all of what she was owed, because she really wasn't owed the full 100. But he gave her 100 for two hours worth of work. It's supposed, I can't figure out how to turn this around. It's supposed to be $100 for 4 hours worth of work, $25 an hour. He gave her 100 for 2 hours worth of work. So she got paid $50 an hour and showed up. Have a look at that. Here, let me just show you. This is her idea of a vacuumed floor. You see that? That apparently is the result of a vacuumed floor. Apparently that's 15 minutes worth of dirt and dog hair on a freshly vacuumed floor that she did a great job on. That's apparently normal. So anyway, she showed up at my house, rang the doorbell. I wasn't able to answer it right away because I was in the bathroom. I don't get around well. As you can see, I use a cane. I'm having a flare-up today, which I told her when she got here that I was. And I still had to get up and empty the vacuum because she was vacuuming and she said, your vacuum's full. And then just wrapped the cord around it and walked away and left it there with dust all over the floor. So I took the vacuum bin thing outside with my cane, emptied it in the big trash cans in the garage, came back in. She had swept all the dust up, I guess, because it wasn't there anymore. I put the bin back in the vacuum, and she put the vacuum away and didn't use it again. So apparently, once it's full, she's done. She doesn't need to work anymore. She showed up at my house, rang the doorbell. I couldn't get to the door right away because I don't get around very quickly. And I was in the bathroom, so it took me a few minutes to, finish doing what I was doing. Meanwhile, she was ringing the doorbell constantly, knocking on the door, ringing, knocking, ringing, knocking. Then, as I'm approaching the door, I hear her outside actually yelling my name. So I'm like, just a minute. She knows I don't get around very well. I get to the door. I don't have time to put the dogs outside because she's out there yelling my name. So I open the door and I go outside to leave the dogs inside where they're not going to be barking so we can actually talk. And she tells me that it's unprofessional that she didn't get a tip and that if we weren't going to give her a tip, we should have let her know in advance and she wouldn't have even bothered to come. And I told her we had every intention of giving her a tip until she left 2 hours early and didn't do all the work. And that she didn't even deserve the whole 100, but she'd already gotten it before I even had the chance to look things over. So she can consider the other $50 her tip because she left 2 hours early and should have only gotten half the pay. Half the work, half the pay. She proceeded to yell at me on my front porch, then proceeded down to her car, and on the way down to the car, telling me that I needed to clean my house, keep my house clean. So when I was interviewing her, she was very understanding. Autoimmune disease. Yep, I understand. I know how it goes. I do this for a living. Apparently she works for some company that does in-home care for people with disabilities. And so she said that she totally understands that some people can't get it done and they need help because they have problems and they have health issues that makes it difficult for them. But if she doesn't do a good enough job and you don't just accept that she's not doing a good enough job and pay her what she thinks she's worth, then you need to keep your house clean and your disability or autoimmune disease be damned. She then proceeded to continue shouting at me as she got in her car and drove away. And the thing that kills me is last time she was here, she asked for more money. She was here for 4.5 hours instead of 4. And I kept telling her around the 4-hour mark, I'm like, hey, I realize it's extra dirty and it needs extra work and you're not going to get it all in the first 4 hours. I get that, but I don't stay longer because, just do the 4 hours and you can pick up on it when you come back. And she says, well, the going rate is actually $26 an hour, which right now, what we were supposed to be paying her is $25 an hour because it's $100 for 4 hours. And I was like, oh, okay. And she said, so if you could do 160, that'd be great. 160. Okay. Now, 160 is not $26 an hour. Do the math, people. That's a hell of a lot more than $26 an hour. She's wanting a lot more than $26 an hour in the going rate. But because the house was really bad, I said, sure, no problem. I have the 100 that we agreed upon. I have 20 for your tip in cash. I'll give that to you and I'll have my husband cash app you the other 40, which he did the last time she was here. When she arrived this time, I said to her, listen, so that extra money was just for the last visit because, it was so bad and it needed so much work. We can't afford to do that every single visit. And she's like, no, of course not. No, that was just so that I could get it to where I could maintain it. I understand, it's just going to be the 100 plus tip. I said, okay. That was before she started cleaning anything. We agreed that we weren't going to give her that extra money every single time. And then she left 2 hours early, got paid $100 for doing a piss poor job and leaving in half the amount of time. And she's mad because she didn't get her $20 tip. And I should also mention the first time she came, she told me she was drinking wine while she was in my house cleaning. So speaking of unprofessional, I offered her some coffee, and she's like, no, I don't smoke weed, but I drink wine. And I'm like, oh, you know, cool, I like wine too. And I said, do you want some coffee or water or anything? She said, no, I told you I drink wine. I've got, and she had this cup with her. And I said, you know, did you want a refill for your water, assuming it was water in her cup, because we have a water cooler? And she says, no, I've got my wine in there, I'm good. So she actually told me she was drinking wine while cleaning my house the last time she was here. So, yeah, y'all, I would stay as far away from her as you possibly can. Her name is Trish. I'm trying to find my messages so I can tell you what her last name, Richmond. Trish Richmond. She responded to an ad on Nextdoor to do the cleaning, and I would stay as far away from her as you possibly can. Again, I'm really sorry for this whole time you're just watching my dog sleep, but I'm doing this on an iPad, so I'm just kind of winging it. So yeah, that's the situation, and stay away from her, guys. Stay away from her.